Generation X, the smallest generation, the middle kids. The 65 million Americans born between 1965 and 1980. Our parents let us pretty much roam free while they were splitting up at the highest rate ever.
1 of every 2 marriages these days ends in divorce.
And entering the workforce in record numbers, making more money than most of them had ever seen. We had no great war to fight, but we watched one live on TV. We saw our icons die and witnessed what we felt was the end of history. We were told America was the greatest nation on earth. We believed it. We took a bite out of crime and just said no. They told us sex was gonna kill us. Didn't seem to stop us, though. We hung out in malls, arcades, sometimes just parking lots. We had sex in cars, smoked indoors, stretched a 30-foot phone cord through the house for a little privacy. We slept on waterbeds, played with Rubik's Cubes. We had the greatest coming-of-age movies. We made albums. You remember those? Mixtapes with handmade labels. We made coffee cool. And we have the best name. Came from a novel. That's so Gen X.
In 1989, I was living in Palm Springs, California, where the book was set. It's important to remember the 90s didn't exist yet. There was no grunge. There was nothing. And there was no collective awareness of anything beyond boomers at that point. And who are these people who don't feel like a part of the boomer experience, but we don't feel like a part of anything else? And I decided, okay, I'm going to write the book on Gen X.
What is the defining characteristic of this age group?
The people in this group are realizing, oh, we are part of something. We are something larger, and maybe our voices do count for something.
What do you think about the title Generation X?
I mean, in my mind, I'm the hip-hop generation. You know, this is the hip-hop generation.
In the 70s, the Bronx was burning. It was like Vietnam had come to New York. Death, destruction, darkness, and despair. So these young boys and girls in the Bronx said, we got an idea.
When Kool Herc gave a party, everybody be there.
DJ Kool Herc is a pioneer of hip-hop. He comes from Jamaica and brings sound system music to the Bronx.
Kool Herc was one of the first people to loop records, to create extended instrumental interludes where it's just the beat, treating the turntable as its own bespoke musical instrument, which then evolved into sampling, remixing, and scratching.
We were going to the junkyards, taking the hi-fi stereos people were throwing out, building our own sound systems. But when the blackout happened,
gangs of looters, mainly young people, ransacked hundreds of stores, taking almost anything that could be carried away.
We woke up the next morning, everybody had new sound systems. We looted for stuff that we needed, and one of the things that we needed to do was do this music thing. That's when hip-hop came out the womb.
I said a hip-hop, the hip to the hip-hop, you don't stop the rocket to the bang, man, boogie, say up, jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat.
And suddenly you get Rapper's Delight, and it was amazing.
I still know all the words. My name is Wonder Mike, and I'd like to say hello to the black and the white, the red and the brown, the purple and yellow. It just sounded like us.
Radio stations hated rap music. The pop stations thought it was novelty, and they thought that would be it. But it was just the beginning.
Let's get some hands together, gang, for Mr. Curtis Blow.
Curtis Blow was one of the first mainstream hip-hop acts. Soul Train, the Apollo, those are the markers for how to be a successful black artist. For MC to do that is monumental.
And then this song called The Message came out.
Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
All the trauma of the 50s and 60s were now being utilized by this new generation. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. We're going to talk about these situations.
Yeah.
The next evolution in that was Planet Rock. It was visionary. There's a place called Planet Rock where everybody's eating, nobody's fighting. We are educating ourselves.
Africa Bambaataa really worked hard to turn what was becoming a pretty troubling gang culture into a culture of battle that was symbolic. You could have a graffiti battle, you could have a rhyme battle, you could have DJ battles, you could have a breakdance battle.
Breakdancing was a mainstream dance craze. Michael Jackson was trying to integrate breakdancing into his stuff. Movies like Wild Style, Breaking 1 and 2 popularized breaking in a way that made it the thing to do.
It was the physical release that the music and the poetry gave us. Breakdancing was us becoming Planet Rock. If we put the work in, it can be better. And that's why Run DMC had to come along.
Not DJ Run! My name, Jam Master Jay, is his. He's the MC. It's like that, and that's the way.
We took the message and we took Planet Rock and we put it together. Unemployment at a record high. People going, people coming, people born to die. It was the struggle, but it was also, could have gone to school, could have learned a trade. We wasn't pointing our fingers, we was giving alternatives.
Walk This Way is, you know, considered the seminal song that really introduces middle America, i.e. white America, to hip hop. If you were black like me, growing up in that era, sitting at home watching MTV, you were just waiting, hoping to see that one Michael Jackson video, that one Prince video, maybe Whitney Houston. And in between that, you had to watch a whole lot of Tears for Fears and Boy George and NXS and Duran Duran, which ended up being good music. But it just goes to show the lack of black music that was being played on that network until...
We want to let everybody know where it's at. It's right here. Yo, MTV Raps.
It's the first time that the biggest youth video channel takes a consistent look at hip-hop. This ascendant culture now has a weekly national platform.
Instead of just seeing the video, Yo MTV Raps was an introduction of the people behind this culture and this generation as humans.
Rap was not going to be ignored by the mainstream anymore.
Oh, man. Hey, yo, Mom, what's up, G?
You had Public Enemy, A Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, The Jungle Brothers, Eric B. and Rakim.
But let's not forget Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, Big Daddy Kane, the Beastie Boys.
LL Cool J, Roxanne Shante, Dougie Fresh, Slick Rick. It was an embarrassment of riches.
I mean, you think about all of these groups coming out in less than a 10-year period. It's really the golden era of hip-hop.
It's the Bronx in the house.
We are the generation that created hip-hop, the dominant cultural force around the globe today. It was the soundtrack to our lives.
C-Town Electric Plumbing, Heating, and Air presents the end-of-year warehouse clearance with our lowest prices of the year. Everything in our inventory must go. Save big on new furnaces, water heaters, AC units, generators, electrical panels, and more, including up to $3,000 off select systems. Plus, 0 payments and 0 interest for 12 months. Warning, deals this good won't last long. Don't miss the end-of-year warehouse clearance. Brought to you by C-Town Electric Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
As leaders, one of the things I look for is, are we balancing our judgment, both with intuition and data? Gut intuition, informed judgment, I call it, right, based on experience, is still very important. And we rely on our leadership to have that sound experience and judgment and sometimes go with what they know to be true. But I think it's always about complementing it with data. Real-time data, social sentiment data, different aspects of data that can help inform your judgment even better. So it's a little bit like maintaining a seesaw. You don't want to tip too much into just gut and intuition-based decisions, but you don't want to tip all the way into pure data decisions without any referential context or experience behind that. So I think as leaders, that's one of the things I look for is, are we balancing our judgment both with intuition and data?
When you need brutal honesty, when you need answers first thing in the morning, when you need to go deep inside Washington and hear from someone who's been there, you need your Morning Joe, weekdays at 6, only on MSNBC.
I have an obligation to find a way of telling this story that is fresh, that has angles that haven't been used in the course of the day, to bring my experience working in the Senate, working in journalism for many years, to try to make sense of what has happened in that news day and help you make sense of what it means to you and what it's going to mean to you tomorrow and what it's going to mean to you next year.
"17 people in all gathered in this house, as people had in small groups across the country. What they saw on television was the graphic destruction of Kansas City by several atomic bombs."
Growing up during the Cold War was a lot of nuclear nightmares, and it didn't help that Hollywood made movies like The Day After on television.
It was full-blown apocalyptic atmosphere. There were air raid drills that you would just get under your desk. Being nuked by the Soviets felt more imminent.
I thought any day, like, oh, we're just going to see a mushroom cloud.
We will never compromise our principles and standards. We will never give away our freedom. We will never abandon our belief in God.
Reagan makes Americans feel this is still the greatest nation on earth.
And Hollywood went in promoting this mainstream, very conservative picture of America.
We get some of the more right-wing might makes right films. Red Dawn, where the Russians parachute into their school.
Not bad for a bunch of kids, huh?
You look at Rocky IV.
I must break you.
Us versus the Russians. It cannot be any more cartoonish, and America ate it up with a spoon.
Rambo's like the libertarian, pro-American wet dream.
His invasion has captured everything from toys to T-shirts. And now, the nightclub business. This club reflects a new mood in America.
It's time to take a stand, and America's going to stand strong where it stands now.
Old-fashioned patriotism is back in style.
T-minus 7 minutes and counting.
If you were a kid in the 80s, you loved the space program. What kid didn't dream of going to space?